You're listening to the Practical Wealth Show with Curtis May.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Practical Wealth Show. So this is I'm letting you in on a mentoring call with Coach Joe, with me. So that's what this is. I'm letting you listen in on.
Schmidt is a guy who wrote a book, What Really Works. And he's been hosting, or he's been the guest speaker on our GA forum for the past 3 weeks. And tomorrow will be week number 4. We're going to go 6 weeks with him. And one of the things that he's talking about the 7 F's, which are faith, family, finance, fitness, fun, future. That might be 6. I think I'm missing one. Anyway, no, it's right in front of me. Friends, sorry. You can see my screen, right? So now, in talking about the using the HELOC to pay all your debts down, which is really conceptually, the HELOC is the most efficient method of debt, right? Because we talk about HELOCs all the time. If you can have an adjustable rate mortgage, like I used to have on my house, for example. I had an adjustable rate mortgage for 7 years. And after 7 years was over, the rate that it adjusted to was so minimal that I just left it. Okay. But it allows you to have control of your capital, and it recalibrates your mortgage balance every time you make a payment. Right?
Right.
So an adjustable rate mortgage or a HELOC, or by the way, a life insurance loan, are all examples of adjustable rate loans where you're paying interest only. That's the whole point of it. I'm only paying interest on the outstanding balance at any given time. Now, what these newer HELOCs are doing is they're linking you. Let me see if I could. So here's your loan. You have a loan with a mortgage company, and then you have your house, and you also have let's call it a checking account. Okay. So when I take my income and I move it from my earned income to my checking account, what the mortgage company does is it gives me credit. So every single night, this is the way one of them works. Every single night, they check the balance in my checking account. Let's say it's $5,000. They take my $400,000 mortgage, and they deduct $5,000 that night. So as of the next morning, I'm only paying interest, on a broken down per daily basis on $395,000.
Right.
So if every time you're sweeping your money into your checking, and every single night the mortgage company reduces your mortgage balance by whatever's in your checking, then you're going to have the most efficient mortgage you could possibly have, right? And then let's say you're paying interest on that. Let's just say 4% for a round number, right? So you're paying 4%, where 4 times almost 400,000 is $16,000 a year, which is about $1,400 a month. So if your balance runs $400,000 for that month, well, you're paying $1,400. Well, maybe the next month it's running, $380,000. Well, they're going to charge you interest on that outstanding mortgage for $380,000.
Okay.
And here's the problem with that whole thing. We have a financial partner. Now, for most people, their financial partner is a bank of some kind. And it's also a credit card or a credit card facility or a lender, right? And then we have saver, banker, borrower. Now, what Nelson taught us is that if you control all three bases, aren't you going to have more money?
Yes.
Right? So it seems to me, and I haven't seen their whole program laid out. All I've heard about the all-in-one loan, as some people call it, all-in-one loan, or the HELOC, is that it winds up allowing you to pay off your mortgage more efficiently and quicker because of what I just explained to you, right?
Right.
They're sweeping money into your checking account. They're knocking down your loan. You're paying interest only on the net loan balance at the end of a given day or week or month or year. Okay. Now here's my concern. My concern is at the end of the day, where does your money reside? Okay. That's my question. And that was always Nelson's question. Where does your money reside at the end of the day? So
that's the problem I'm having with it. Where does your money reside?
Right. So if our money is either going to reside in, and I know that you and I use different components for an asset base. Let's say that a lot of people are using the stock market, or they're using real estate, or they're using their own business, or they're letting money sit in cash, which you and I agree is really not a portfolio component, right? But here's the question is, at the end of using the HELOC, at the end of making yourself more efficient, now you have all this free cash flow, where is that money going to go? Well, it's going to go into real estate or your business, or you can leave it in cash, which is the least efficient thing you could ever do, or to the stock market, or you're going to make investments of some kind, right? At the end of the day, no matter what you make your investment basket look like, it's going to be a very limited selection of items. So when these people are talking about using the HELOC, they're only talking about step one. What they're talking about is get out of debt. Do we want to get out of debt efficiently or inefficiently? We always want to get out of debt efficiently, right? But we want to take the next step and say, how do we build wealth? And the ironic thing for you and me, I think, is that we're financial advisors, but we're not really telling people how to build their wealth. I'm not saying, well, you really should own a Burger King,
right?
Or you really should own a White Castle, or you really should own a Sonic, or you really should own Zappos shoe franchise store, if there's such a thing, or you really should own an electronics store, or you should get in on I don't know, right? What we try to do as financial advisors is help our clients to become more efficient insofar as tax, insofar as managing cash flow, insofar as getting credit out of their lives. How do I buy the things that I need in my life, such as cars, such as my kids' college, such as vacations, such as second home? How do I fund for retirement? Well, we really leave that decision up to our clients, and then they make the decision, and we help them do that efficiently. So in my case, if my client says, I get a new screen here. Well, I like the idea that you've been talking about, Joe, with regard to liquidity. I think, well, if you're looking at life insurance, your life insurance is going to have an element of liquidity. I mean, the way we build them, it's going to have a strong element of liquidity, right?
Right.
If they own an annuity, there's going to be the 10% free, penalty-free corridor that they can take money out of every year, right? Some of my clients have money in the stock market. Now, I don't really know that you can really say putting money into your business is a place to store money. It really isn't. Your business is the cash cow, right? Is the
Right.
golden goose. So I don't think that business is really a place where you would put money.
No, I mean, you would
So,
invest money
I
into a
mean,
business, but I don't,
you
that's not where you store cash.
right,
Right.
but investing money in the business in order to create cash flow.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, what Kiyosaki says is he likes cash flowing real estate, right? We know that for the most part, even though real estate values may fluctuate, if you own rentals, your rents that you charge your renters is not going to go up. It's not going to go down very often.
Right.
Your rents are going to go up year by year by year. So in our case, we say, well, use your life insurance as a capital base, right?
Right.
And use it to fund the things that you want to buy. What's the other thing that you use? You use something else.
Be the name or the private reserve or
no? Give another component of your portfolio that your clients put money into.
So I tell people there's 4 asset classes: business, real estate, paper assets, and commodities.
But I mean, are you helping clients put money into paper assets?
So yeah, I flow through savings into a wealth capture into policies.
Okay, you're not selling. I'm
So what happens is if they've got
it.
a capital, I will introduce them to. I won't say I'm selling it. Turnkey real estate. I like that. Okay. I've had people buy ATMs, so I really try to show them
ATM. There you go.
ATMs. Yeah, ATMs. Those type of things. I think that one thing that we share is that there's no one product that's going to take you to glory. So most wealth is created by your business, by you getting good at something and creating value in the marketplace, which they will give you back money, right? And so that could be ATMs, that could be laundromats. I mean, it doesn't, it doesn't matter, but you've got to get good at something. It could be network marketing, it could be affiliate marketing, and then just kind of keep cash flow flowing. It could be real estate and learning how to get good at that skill. So that's kind of what I teach. So I tell people, look, it's your job to make you rich. I'm just trying here to make you efficient, make sure you got capital.
Yeah, we fine tune things. We fine tune their program. So,
and help you keep more of what you make, minimize your taxes, and help you build a good team.
Right. So I think when I talk about liquidity, use, and control, I'm going to look for liquidity, use, and control in as many aspects as I can find it, right? So I know that I've got liquidity in life insurance. I've got liquidity in a market account, at the very least in a margin loan, right? And you may take down some profits here and there. And I know I have liquidity in an annuity. They may keep some cash locally for emergencies. And more people nowadays, because of coronavirus, are saying, I kind of like the idea of keeping more cash around than I did a year ago. Well, I'm good.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I like the real estate. I like the HELOCs on GP, just if you can get them. I mean, they're not easy to get. Some people qualify for them, but if you can get a HELOC on a real estate, not to use it, just to have it.
Right. Yeah, I'm waiting for my friend to get me information on this all-in-one loan program. He mentioned to me, he's a real estate agent. He mentioned to me on Thursday, and as soon as I get it, I'll share it with you, because I mean, anybody that could consolidate their home mortgage into one all-in-one loan and have that money sweeping and deducting from their mortgage every night, that's fantastic.
Well, so let's say they did that, and so guys, I'm this is the Practical Wealth Show, but this is I'm letting you in on a mentoring call with Coach Joe, with me. So that's what this is. I'm letting you listen in on. And because I'm looking at it going, all right, first rule of wealth is pay yourself first, right? So we need to get it in our asset column. Kiyosaki says you got to get money in your asset column and never let it leave. So when I look at so in my mind, I will draw out. I wish I could draw the screen. I would put the Rich Dad financial statements side by side, And then I will go, two boxes: income, expense, asset, liability. And so what happens is when people are paying the mortgage or the sending extra to the mortgage or doing 15 years or sending extra payments, you're really feeding, because your liability, the mortgage, is the bank's asset, right? And so when you are paying down the debt, you're getting out of debt, but you're still, in my mind, I'm still trying to figure out, it's still a transfer, because you're transferring your debt, your asset, you're more, see, because the thing is like, all right, is your money worth, now I like the HELOC thing, because I can kind of see how, all right, you're not sending extra payments, it's just a more efficient way to pay the loan. And, but if you're not stopping it to as well, Nell, we were talking about Nelson Nash, become your own banker, in your bank first, and then doing what you have to do with it, it's still a transfer of your wealth to the other institution. That's where I'm because you're getting out of debt, but you're all right. So you got equity in the house and you got more cash flow, but you still don't have the money, right? And see, so you're feeding the bank's asset column and denying yours, because you're sending money directly to their assets and bypassing your asset column. I can't get that out of my head, because I still see that every time you draw it out. I still see it. Everybody's like, oh my God, debt, debt is evil. Well, is one of the things we both listen to Lanier. He says I forget what he calls them, but he says that the number one thing is that your money will never be worth more than it is today. And he says, don't you think banks know that, right? So you're giving away, because of inflation, your money will never be worth more than it is today. So you're giving your more valuable today dollars, and wherein you could be paying them back with inflated dollars, and you can let the Federal Reserve pay the debt off for you. So I always come back to that. Why would I give my more valuable today dollars away? Equity has no rate of return. I had a guy who yelled at me, equity doesn't have any rate of return. So, and his whole, but that's his whole, he was a financial guy. He's like, oh, he's selling these debt things. I'm like, how do you become financial independent? Oh, you got to pay off your house and have net worth. I said, what's the rate of return on equity in a house? What do you mean? So he, like, I said,
because so many of us in whatever discipline we've been in have spent so many years getting good at selling the product, selling the commodity,
right,
that we miss the opportunity. Maybe we never recognize the opportunity to go back and actually understand money. And, I make this apology all the time. It was just by the grace of God that for the first 20 years of my career, I was selling whole life.
Right.
Because whole life is still the foundation and the flagship product, if you want to call it that, for building wealth, generational wealth, for transferring the next generation, for being efficient, for building capital assets and lending to our family investment bank so that we could go and buy capital assets that create cash flow, right? Yeah. But for the first 20 years, I didn't study finance or economics. It was only in 2001 when I met Nelson Nash, after I was already in the business 25 years, that I started to study how money worked. Right? Because there are all these common elements. It doesn't make a difference if you're in banking, if you're in real estate, if you're in construction, if you're in retail, opening up retail outlets, opening up a White Castle or a Sonic or an In-N-Out Burger, where you get repeat business, right? Walmarts, businesses where we take care of the masses, where we provide a commodity that is reused and it needs to be replenished all the time. What's the number one commodity that people are going crazy for in that last couple of months? Toilet paper.
Toilet paper,
right? But the thing is, if you get to understand how money really works, then you'll understand that money sitting doesn't earn any interest or any gain or any dividend, and that's where we have money.
And see, that's what financial institutions teach you. I've been showing people, when they build financial products, they build them with 4 rules in mind. They want your money. They want it automatically, like you payroll
Systematically.
deduction.
Yep.
They want it. They want to keep it for as long a time as possible, and they want to give it to you back as long as possible and as little as possible. So everything they build is with that in mind. Okay, so they're not focused on you building cash flow, you know, and so there's no. So understanding, you know, what your goals are, which is to build cash flow, you need to use the what I call the clubs, you know, because the financial institutions are, you know, I use it to different. You want to be the, if I have two things to give you, I can only give you one. I can give you the clubs that are the best players on the tour. I could touch you on the shoulder and give you their swing. Which one would you rather have? You know, Curtis, the non-golfer, but I can't think of this for basketball. So so, and so I said, most of my clients say, oh, you don't even play golf. I said, you know, if I give you Tiger swing, go to swing. I says, yes, because Tiger could take a set of clubs out of a thrift store and beat 98% of people on the planet. It ain't the clubs. You know, I used to work at basketball camps. So listen, if I could give me Jordan shoes, I could not take off from a foul line and dunk. All right. Mm-hmm. It's the swing, right? And so the insurance companies are the club manufacturers, and most financial people are club salespeople, really, truth be told. And I'm the swing coach in your life. Now, Curtis sells clubs, but what club you pick, where you are on the course, what shot do you need to hit? You know, those are the tactics in the clubs, but you got to have a game plan and you got to know how to hit the ball. And so that's what Joe and I do is, you know, or if you use like, okay, they sell the wood, but they ain't going to build you a house. You need an architect, you need a home builder to build a house. They're just giving you the raw material. And that's what you got to do. So, you know, there's a lot, you know, that's why economics is major, because you have to understand how money works, how, you know, I always tell people you can't control the economy, but you can control your personal economy, which is your production and consumption as a family. You know, you can't control that.
So remember when Nelson would always, I mean, there are so many things that he'd said so many times that it became embedded in our consciousness, right? So one of the things he said was follow the money trail. And some of the things seemed so fundamental and so simple that we would let them slide, and we wouldn't understand the gravity and the profound wisdom in those truths. So when he said follow the money trail, and then I tie that to Kiyosaki saying, you know, poor people are poor because before they have a chance to create cash flowing capital assets, they go and spend their principal on liabilities. They spend their principal on cars. Their principal should be buying assets that creates cash flow. So rich people are using cash flow to buy assets,
right?
To buy liabilities, to buy their vacation and their cars and pay for college and their second homes, right? Their lifestyle. But poor people are spending the capital before they have a chance to deploy it, to get it to be leveraged and expand and multiply. So there's the big difference between what rich people do with their money, what poor people do. And it's not that they were born rich, it's that they learned early how to think about
they learn how to think about money. I'm going to do a show on this because I was reading something. People talk about the 99% and the 1% and the income gap, and these people are evil. But when you break it down, that's not it. There's a behavior gap. There's a thinking gap that is the real thing, because if you look at, there's 1% wealthy, there's another 5% that are affluent, and then 15% that are doing, you know, well. And that's the top, that's a Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. Yeah. And then there's 20% at the bottom that are going to be poor. And then there's 6% that even if they're making, you know, 50,000, 100,000, they're always going to struggle and live paycheck to paycheck. And that has not changed since the Bureau of Labor Statistics did that study. But what people don't do, I was listening to Dan Kennedy, he says, listen, if you went, and nobody talks about the behavior gap, because if you studied you went to the Ford 400 and you read their biographies, you would see the same pattern on all of them. You know, they they were poor. Most of the people, the first generation, they start out with nothing. They got good at something. They build a business. They learn how to do real estate. Really, the formula is build a business by real estate, right? And they decided. I was reading of the success, what is it called? The Success Principles of Black Millionaires. And then here are the 9 traits of African American millionaires. So it was basically they decided not to be poor. They learned how to pay themselves first. But all things that are very doable. But if you study people, you see that they don't do it. They don't read a book a month on money. They don't. And so you have that behavior gap. And so if you don't change that, there is no, I'm not going to go on my libertarian rant, but there's no amount of wealth redistribution, because money goes where it's appreciated, and it's going to end right back up where, what is that thing Nelson said? If all the money in the world was distributed to 97% of the people, it would find its way back to, what's that saying?
If all the money in the world were distributed equally
mm-hmm.
to all the people in the world, within 10 years, 97% of all the money would be in the control of 3% of the people, because those people have learned how to get money to draw toward them instead of having money repelled away from them.
Right. Most people repel it, and by their thought process, or by scarcity, by, money's not important to me, money's the root of all evil. I mean, you repel it just on your thought process. Joe, any final thoughts for the family out there?
Again, I appreciate your doing this on behalf of your own clients, and encouraging people to get knowledge about the basics of finance. This is not a high level issue. This is about how money works at the very core. And the people that pay attention to how money works are going to watch what's going on in this economy right now, in this dirt poor economy right now. There are going to be people who are paying attention and making money now, or setting the foundation so that they can make money as we're coming out of it. But it's easy to make money when the sun is shining. It's harder to make money. It takes more thinking to make money when the sky is dark with clouds and the thunderstorms are coming in and the rain is coming down. So we need to be able to, and that's why seasons affect the business cycle, right?
Yeah.
Because people react. What we want to do is not react, but be proactive, be the leader and not the follower of the activity. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate your having me on and having this conversation.
Yes, this was fun. So you will see more of these guys, because this is brilliant stuff. And go out there and make it a prosperous day.
Take care of yourself.
Thanks for listening to Practical Wealth. To access the show notes and resources, go to practicalwealthshow.com. To get your questions on the show, go to practicalwealthshow.com. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before you make any investment decisions, consult a professional. This show is copyrighted by Practical Wealth. Written permission must be granted before syndication or rebroadcasting.